So I'd like to argue to you that campaigning seeks to form or to reform the policy or practice of institutions. Campaigning seeks to influence the attitudes, the opinions, and the practice of individuals in positions of power. And really importantly, campaigning seeks to improve the lives of significant numbers of people. And that last point is really important. Campaigning isn't just about getting a commitment or a policy or a review. It's about changing and improving the lives of significant numbers of people. Real change on the ground. Now, if I cast my mind back over the last year or so of some of the campaigns that I've been involved in and that I've supported. So I might think of the campaign to implement a new approach to tackling homelessness in Spain, for example, to develop a new migration strategy in Sudan, to end the indefinite immigration detention in the UK, to increase community first aid provision in South Africa, and at a local level, to encourage a local council to welcome more refugees. Very different campaigns, but all of them really clear and focused on their particular policy or practice change. And I think having a twin track approach to change is really, really important. So on the one side, having real practical experience of the problem that you were seeking to tackle. That's really important. But on the other side, then using that experience to push for policy or practice change to tackle that particular problem. And I think the way those two things sit together is really important. Both having the experience and the evidence and then using it to promote a particular solution to address that problem. And when I think of campaigning, I quite like to think about this approach. It's quite simple, but it focuses on the insider and the outsider approach. So what do I mean by that? So the insider approach to campaigning is a private approach. Discreet meetings, private meetings, back channels, not public, not using the media, but seeking influence that way. On the other side, there's the outsider route, which is more public-facing, using the media, social media, demonstrations, mobilizing supporters and the public, and the insider and the outsider route. And it can be helpful to kind of bear in mind those two particular approaches to campaigning. And your choice of routes can be determined by a number of things. It can be determined by how you want to be seen by others. Now, I think that can be quite important. It can be determined by your own understanding of the external context. And there are some countries I've worked in that, frankly, the outsider route is just not possible. And then it's really important to think about your own understanding of the influence potential of your own target. What will get the best result? And that's really, really important. And a few years ago, I had the pleasure of attending a conference where I heard Kumi Naidoo speak. So at the time, he was then International Director for Greenpeace, an inspiring man. And he was asked a question. He was asked about the insider and the outsider route, and which he thought was the best. And his answer was a classic. He said, well, you need to do both. He said, if you can do both, he said, you should do both. And the critical thing, he said, and I love this, he said, is that you should keep your target guessing. Yes, of course, you should use whatever insider channels you have at your disposal, but equally you reserve the right also to use the outsider route as well to sustain pressure. Excellent. Okay, so now let's move on, and I'd like to introduce you to a campaigning tool called the T-Test.